The wind howled like a wounded beast, tearing through the trees and whipping snow into swirling clouds that swallowed everything in sight. It was the kind of storm that made even the most hardened souls want to hunker down and pray for morning. And somewhere deep in the wilderness of northern Idaho, inside a small cabin nestled between frozen pines, lived a man who had seen too much, lost too much, and now just wanted to be left alone. He was older, early 60s, with eyes that held the weight of war and a face etched by years of silence. His name was Ethan Hayes, a retired Navy SEAL who hadn't spoken to anyone outside of grocery store clerks or the occasional ranger in over 5 years. The cabin had become a sanctuary, a place where memories didn't chase him so hard, where the ghosts of fallen comrades couldn't reach him as easily. But on the third night of the worst blizzard in decades, something changed. It started with a sound, faint at first, barely audible over the roaring wind. A soft whinny, distant but desperate. Ethan paused mid-sip from his coffee, brow furrowed. He'd heard strange noises before during storms, branches cracking, animals scurrying, even the echo of his own thoughts playing tricks on him. But this felt different. Again, it came more insistent this time, like a cry for help. His heart thudded against his ribs, against better judgment. He reached for his flashlight and stepped toward the door. He hesitated only a second before pulling it open, letting the cold rush in like a slap to the face. And there they were, 3 horses, collapsed on his porch, ice clinging to their manes, breath visible in the frigid air like smoke escaping dying fires. They were wild, mustangs, judging by their untamed look, and clearly on the brink. Ethan stood frozen, not from the cold, but from disbelief. These weren't pets. They were creatures of the open land, free and wary of humans. Yet here they were, seeking shelter, seeking him. He dropped to one knee beside the closest one, a chestnut mare with a white streak down her nose. Her eyes met his, wide and glassy, filled with pain but also trust. Something stirred inside him then, a memory of a child in a war-torn village, reaching out with trembling fingers, whispering words he never understood but never forgot. He blinked, grounding himself in the moment. "Okay," he whispered, voice rough. "Okay, beautiful. Let's get you inside." What happened next would change everything Ethan thought he knew about life, courage, and the unspoken bond between humans and nature. He spent hours working tirelessly, hauling blankets, breaking apart furniture to make space, warming their bodies slowly to avoid shock. 2 of them responded, the gray mare and the young stallion, but the chestnut mare remained still, barely breathing, eyes half closed. Then, just as exhaustion threatened to pull him under, she moved. A soft nicker, weak but full of meaning. She turned her head toward the storm again, her gaze fixed beyond the snow-covered trees. Ethan followed her line of sight, flashlight beam cutting through the dark. At first, he saw nothing, just snow, wind, and the endless white. Then movement, something small, vulnerable. His breath caught. Without thinking, he bundled up, grabbed rope and supplies, and stepped back into the storm. The mare struggled to rise behind him, watching, waiting. She wanted him to go, so he did. 20 minutes later, after trudging through waist-deep snow and fighting winds that tried to knock him off his feet, Ethan found it. An overturned trailer, hidden beneath layers of snow, nearly invisible. It wasn't just any trailer. It was the illegal kind used to transport stolen Mustangs across state lines. And near it, buried almost completely, lay a tiny foal. Heart pounding, Ethan dug through the snow, hands numb but moving fast. He lifted the baby horse gently, cradling its freezing body close to his chest. No pulse, no breath. Then, a faint flutter against his hand. A breath. Life. He looked down at the little foal, silver-gray with a black mane, and felt something shift inside him. This wasn't just an accident. These horses hadn't wandered here by chance. They had chosen him. They had risked everything to save this baby, and now they needed someone to finish what they started. Back at the cabin, Ethan worked nonstop, creating a makeshift incubator, using every ounce of survival knowledge he had ever learned. He talked to them like soldiers, told them they were safe, told them to hold on, and they did. Over the next 48 hours, the foal, whom he named Faith, began to recover. The chestnut mare, now called Sky, stayed by her side constantly, offering warmth and comfort. The others, the gray mare Storm and the young stallion Blade, recovered slowly but surely, but peace didn't last long. Late one night, just as the storm began to break, Ethan heard engines approaching, multiple vehicles. Too many. He peered out the window and saw headlights slicing through the darkness. Heavy-duty trucks, trailers, men in tactical gear. Not rescuers, thieves. They had come for the horses. For Faith, for Sky, for all of them. Ethan's military instincts kicked in instantly. He grabbed his rifle, positioned himself strategically, and prepared to defend his unlikely family. When the knock came at the door, it was sharp, demanding. "Open up. Wildlife Services." Liar. Ethan stepped to the door, just enough to show his face, blocking the view inside. "I'm going to need ID," he said calmly. The lead man stepped forward, tall, broad-shouldered, a scar running down his cheek like a warning label. "We know they're in there," the man growled. "Hand them over, or we'll take them by force." Ethan didn't flinch. "They came to me for help," he said, opening the door wider, rifle now visible. "I don't abandon my responsibilities." The standoff stretched, tense and silent. Then the man reached for his gun. Ethan fired first. A warning shot. "Next one won't miss," he warned. The men exchanged glances. Then, realizing they weren't dealing with some isolated old man, they backed off, dragging their injured leader away. But Ethan knew this wasn't over. They would return, with more, with worse. So he called for help. Hours later, a vet arrived. Dr. Maya Patel calm, experienced, and ready for anything. She examined the horses, confirmed their condition was improving, and helped Ethan prepare for what was coming. And when the traffickers returned, they weren't expecting what they got. Because Sky, the mare who had led the rescue, had done more than find Ethan. She had sent a message, called for help from the wild. Dozens of Mustangs appeared on the ridgeline surrounding the cabin, eyes glowing in the moonlight, hooves thundering like war drums. They had come for justice, for freedom, for faith, and together, man and horse, they stood their ground. The battle that followed would be remembered for years. The traffickers, confident in their power, found themselves surrounded by wild horses, cornered by nature itself. The feds arrived soon after, arresting the criminals and seizing evidence that would shut down the trafficking ring for good. Months passed. The story went viral. People donated money. Volunteers came from all over to help protect wild horses. Ethan became a consultant for wildlife conservation. He opened a sanctuary, Hayes Wild Horse Refuge, where rescued Mustangs could heal and live freely. Sky became the matriarch. Faith grew strong, playful, always following Ethan around like a shadow. He no longer sought isolation. He had found purpose. And in saving them, he had saved himself. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to our channel for more incredible tales of survival, redemption, and the amazing bonds between humans and animals. Leave a like if Ethan, Sky, and Faith's journey inspired you, and share this story with someone who needs to remember that it's never too late to find your true purpose. What would you do if wild animals came to your door seeking help? How do you think we can better protect the magnificent creatures that share our world? Let us know in the comments below. Moral lesson: sometimes our greatest purpose finds us when we least expect it. Healing doesn't come from running away. It comes from embracing responsibility in new and meaningful ways.